Hello everyone. We invite two guests from TO1 of S14, and now let's welcome them.
So I'm D Dubs, and I am from Server 14, the TO1 Alliance. I was formerly a part of NVX on Server 15 and migrated a few seasons back.
Hey everyone, and this is Dr. X, the R5 of the TO1 Alliance. It's a great pleasure to be here to help you guys asking some questions to Lilith.
Thank you for coming. This time, we would like to know about your thoughts about the update of version 5.0 of Warpath. Now there are modern units, and the units can be upgraded to 9.2 starts. How do you feel about this update?
Yeah, I think that the upgrades for the 9.2 modern units is generally really positive. I think it's something that adds a new fun dynamic to the game, and I think that it's something that will keep players interested for a long time. I think it can be a challenge for some players to get some modern units, but overall, I think it's made the game a lot more fun and has encouraged a lot more battles, which is something we all like to see.
Thanks, D-Dubs. I generally agree with your point, but have a slightly different opinions. I think it's pretty cool for the upgrade to the modern unit, but I think Lilith has designed the whole system a little bit overly aggressive. My recommendation is if Lilith were listening is we should start from the upgrade to 8.2 or 9.0. So which means the most well will easily have a 5 unit or upgraded to 9.0. But for the general monthly card players or free-to-play players, they can at least have one 8.2 units during the level 4 event, then at least there will be some fun competition in between. Also, these may think about locking certain level units in the level 4 only. For example, in the silver battleground, this should lock in the 9.2 units. Otherwise, the whole battle will be completely on the side of a person who has a 9.2 units.
Yeah, I think that the new units are positive in the fact that they give us all something to strive for. It's exciting to see that there are updates that keep coming to the game, and it keeps giving us a reason to keep playing and try to get better. Although I do agree with Dr. X that it's pretty aggressive and it's made it so there are certain whales that can really dominate a game. I think it's especially isolated a lot of free to play players and has made it challenging for them to feel like they can contribute and compete, because it's going to take a really, really long time for your average player to have enough 7.2 units to turn into modern units, let alone to upgrade to a 9.2. And so I think if Lilith could scale back the speed at which these units can be upgraded, it would provide a much more balanced gameplay for everybody involved.
We all know that in the new theater of conquest, all the maps will be opened at the same time. Alliances can choose to join in the map they want, or skip the turn and wait for 2 weeks for the new theater of conquest. So, what do you think about this new system?
Yeah, I think that the new season system will be a positive change for all alliances. I think one of the downsides of the current system was that you never knew who you would get paired with, and sometimes that would make for really lopsided events. And so you could have an event where it would be over within the first 2 weeks because one side would completely dominate another side. Um, and oftentimes you could get paired with teams that you're not really friends with or that you don't really want to be playing with. And so I like the idea that now we can pre-select who our partners are going to be, as well as work with an opposing group to ensure that we have enemies that are going to have high activity throughout the entire course of the event, because that's really why we play. We want to make sure that it's action packed and it's fun for everybody.
Yeah, I agree with what you said, but there's one thing like we cannot select the pre-select allies All we can do is we need to select the same battleground with our allies and enemies together at the same time. Then I think if the alliance power is similar, Lilith will make it happen. But I still worry about this system is kind of like a black box, which you don't know. For example, I tell you I'm gonna go to Moscow in next 2 weeks, ended up go to the San Fran that time, nobody will know. And then without, for example, without me joined, that my ally will be completely screwed up. Something like that, we need to prevent a pure black box. You don't know what happened. Maybe Lilith can make the whole system a little bit more transparent.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I think it would be beneficial for all alliance leaders and diplomats to have a better understanding of how the pairing system can work. Because I think all of the alliances in the top battlegrounds are here for the same reasons, right? We want to have a good experience for our full team, and we want to make sure that the game is balanced and is enjoyable. I don't think there's many teams out there that would take advantage of transparency in a system. I think people would have integrity with the pairing mechanism, and I think they want to have a voice and a say to make sure that we don't get a boring event.
Yeah, I agree. So I just hope Lilith can disclose more information to all the alliance R5 and deployment to help us.
Could you please choose 1, 2, 3 modern units to analyze and comment?
So the two units that I really wanted to talk about, the first is the main battle tank. Combining the medium tank and the heavy tank into one main battle tank. I think it's been a really exciting progression in the game. I think it is unique in that it gives a really strong ground unit, but that unit can also rally and hit bases. And so it's fun to see a unit being utilized in multiple ways. Um, I think there at times it would get boring for people that were only fighting on the field, and so to have a unit that can do both things, I think, is appealing for people. You certainly see a lot of rallies running around today with 15 main battle tanks jumping in and out of bases, burning both units and bases. The second unit is the fighter planes. I think that they continue to add exciting battles for multiple game styles. Um, I think that it's something that makes it fun because you can go and counter bombers, and you can also really pin people into their base if you're able to win in the air. And so I think it's just added a fun dynamic that goes beyond just fighting on the ground.
The two units I want to pick and I like to use is actually the two 9.2 units I'm currently have, so I can switch between them. The first one is a helicopter. As D-Dubs mentioned, right now lots of people like to using Mayweather tanks, so I decided using their counter unit, which is the helicopter. The couple of things for helicopters, helicopter can deliver tons DPS when fight with a super heavy and a Mayweather tank. And the way to play helicopter, it's very fun. I like it because you literally like a play in Air Force, but you can attack in ground units. There's a lot of tricks. I starting to see a lot of people using helicopter to hit it wrong to try to get some kills. Or you can easily, as a reserve killer, to try to kill the reserve line, easily go around, go through the side of the main battlefront, try to sneak into the back of the reserve line to kill reserve. The second unit I want to pick was the harvester or the artillery because I always believe this game is a game about destroy other people's base, burning their land, and building your land. It's a building to win game. In order to achieving that goal, how to burn other people's base and how to defend your territory, you will need artillery. Artillery can deliver super high damage and DPS, but it can be easily countered by the bomber and by the faster tank group. But I still think most well in this game love to using the artillery. So that's my pick of the two units.
There will be a lot of new officers soon. Until the end of the year, there will be 3 new officers each month. So what do you think about this?
So I
Yeah.
think that in general, adding officers to the game is positive. Again, for a similar reason to adding new units, is I think it just adds different dynamics. Not every player likes to play the same way, and so by giving a lot of flexibility in how you can pair the different officers with different units and the different buffs that they give, I think that's a good thing. However, I do think adding so many officers so quickly is going to leave a lot of players feeling like they'll never reach a point where they have a successful army. Because they'll never be able to get enough statues to actually max those officers and see strong skills out of them. So, my opinion is that yes, officers being added is a good thing, but only if it's paired with the ability for us to either increase how many statues we can get without having to buy them through the bistro, or um, if we had the ability to swap officer skills. So if we have an officer that's fully trained up that we don't want to use anymore, if we could reset and swap those statues over to one of the new officers or an officer that has a skill that better aligns with the units we want to play with, then I think it would be more positive.
I agree. And also, Lilith has to understand at this stage, with the 5.0 upgrade, the modern units, most players only have one ground unit and one air force unit, which means they only need four officers that can achieving their goal to fight in the battleground because other unit is just simply not effective when they fight with the modern unit. By adding more unit at this time, I feel like it completely doesn't make any sense because again, you only have one unit, one ground unit to fight. Now you already have like a 12 or 13 ground officers. You're gonna add in a couple more, and how are you gonna use those? Right? If this decided to add in more officers to make the battleground more interesting, they should also open the way to reset the old officers so we can get a statue back. So some officers, since they get a max, may never get a chance to be used by the player. I feel like this is something it is can improve to give more dynamics for the players to reset certain officers and then give those statues the new one. Maybe put a cooldown for the officer reset like once per week or couple times per week. Then people can enjoy the time to assign different officers and enjoying the game.
I agree, but I also disagree in I agree that we should have the ability to reset. I don't think that there should be a cooldown period in between when that could happen. Because if you think about it, there's a lot of players that, I mean, getting one or two or three officers max took them a really, really long time to accumulate that many statues, right? If they don't have a strong VIP level, they're not getting the free ones every day, and if they don't complete their battle honors missions, then they're not getting the extra statues every day there. So the only way you really can get them is by placing well in the weekly events or winning combat drills. And there's just not very many winners throughout a server um, to get those statues. So I'm a player. I've spent some money in the game, but I've also placed really high in combat drills, and I just now have gotten to the point where I have all of my main officers maxed. And so to think that all of a sudden there's going to be six more that I potentially have to work on, I mean, it's taken me almost 2 years to get to this point. So it just is really daunting for um, players that do spend, let alone the free to play players. I'm sure it's going to isolate them and make them feel like they don't have a chance.
I agree. This is another example like Lilith being aggressive to release new content, which I as a player, I definitely thinking new content is good, but the new content will require people spend more money and or even more time to enjoy. I think that's a little bit more aggressive. Yeah.
What would you like to see improved or added to the game?
So I have a couple things that I'd really like to see improved or added within the game. First and foremost, I think it's going to be really important for the longevity of the game to give more ways for casual players to get modern units. Um, and I don't mean make it easier to get refined components. Well, yes, I do think we need to make that easier, but I think in general, we need to make it easier for free to play players to actually get to an 8.0 unit. I think there's so many players that just don't even have enough base units to get the prototypes to have a full modern setup. And I think that's a big step in keeping the game fairly balanced. And then over time, they can get the refined components to actually upgrade those even further. But I think getting more players to a full set of 8.0 is going to be important. The second thing that I'd love to see is if we could expand the servers that can be paired together, and that may be happening in the new season system. But I think there's a lot of new and exciting servers that are popping up. I think you see a lot of people that are choosing to migrate together to form stronger alliances. And so giving those new teams a chance to go and compete with some of the older, more established teams, I think would be positive for everybody. I go and look at some of the power levels on the new server, and I see some teams that I think it would be a lot of fun to play against. And so I'd love to see Lilith introduce easier ways for us to interact and compete with those groups. And then the third thing that I'd love to see would also be a leaderboard that would show power and kill rankings across all servers. So right now we have city, battleground, and world view. It'd be really great if we could expand that to show full servers so we can see where do we rank as an alliance, or where do I fall in the grand scheme of the most kills by any player, or who's the most powerful. Just a really easy way to start to see some of those lists, I think would make it more exciting for players to want to go and compete in the cross server events.
I think those make sense. Another thing I want to add it was about the combat drill. As an officer, the most headache time was when the combat drills happen, especially for the server has been long ago established a piece in the whole server. Well, to fight, who to fight becomes a super sensitive question, to be honest, in those server. For example, server 14, it's so hard to find the opponents to fight because most allies in server 14 are already allied a family together. I was thinking little through increasing a way for combat drill. Maybe open a separate map just doing the combat drill weekend that other server alliance can join the same map. So people fighting in a more like another map like level 4, but it's more smaller, it's also more quicker. And also each alliance can actually building there for that 3 days or 2 days doing a combat drill. So for people can enjoy more content, more fun fighting with a different alliance, or just making the combat dribble time to a alliance versus alliance battle. And winner can get some points, the loser losing some points. There will be a leaderboard associated with that that can make the game more fun than you just fight or you farm your friend in your level 3 city, just try to get some points.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think that um, whether it be a free for all map where you can't lose any money by having units killed, or something to encourage more activity, um, would be great. Um, Even if it was a battleground map that equalized everybody's power, so everyone had the same power of units. Just as long as there was something that made it so more players would participate, I think that's really important. Um, and I think also in general, if Lilith could better incentivize fighting, right now there really is no outside of the small percentage of people that try in combat drills or fighting in a level 4 event, there really is no other reason for most people to try and fight. The rewards for completing the general combat drills achievements, they're really not all that great. And so a lot of players just don't really care. And so I think if there was a way to incentivize getting kills and going out and participating in battles, I think that would be really positive. I would also love to see an event where you can be paired with more than just 8 servers together. I think it could be a lot of fun to see like a really large battleground with more teams involved, because I think the general 4 versus 4 becomes a little bit stagnant. And so if you could just increase the number of players that can participate at once, I think it could make some really engaging content and battles.
So by adding to that, also you can also include an event not for alliance. You can pair with your friends. For example, if TO1 has some player has some friends in UN, you can ask them together to do a 5 against 5 game system, something like that. Automatically, leaders can providing that tolerance type fight, and also by limited amount of units, so to make a unit same power, to make it more like a skill based rather than money or whale based, right? Otherwise, you will see all the big whale dominate the battleground. But the whale can have some advantages like arena, just like make a 5 against 5 arena without automatic unit movement. It's gonna be based on who has a more micro. Just like this is a real-time strategy game, people should practice more about their operation units level rather than just paying the money, put a unit there, they can dominate everything. So
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your time.
So, yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate the invitation to come and speak today. I want to give a special shout out to my lover, Born King. Um, but yeah, it's been great. Hopefully, we have a good time on YouTube here, and I'd love to see the link later.
all right, thank you though.
Yeah, thank you.